Welcome back to Bun and Cheese Reviews, and this is another week focused on cartoons. I wonder if you got the hint from last week's, but this week is my top 5 Western cartoons from the 90s, the decade I was born. So I know a lot more cartoons in this decade. First of all, I want to say a shout out to a couple of cartoons that won't make this list. Those are Reese's, Dexter's Laboratory, Rugrats, and Ed and Eddie. Those are all shows that I did enjoy, but I didn't watch enough to actually make this list. Only a couple of episodes here and there. Also, just like last week, there'll be no DC, no Marvel, and what I forgot to mention last week is there will be no big hitting animations like The Simpsons, Family Guy, American Dad, stuff like that. I personally think that stuff deserves its own category. So maybe you'll see that stuff this month, maybe you'll see it another time, but it deserves its own category. Next, I want to say I was born in 94, so I do have a strong connection to some of these cartoons, and you will see that in the list coming up. But I've spoke enough now. Let's get straight into the list, and you can see my explanations for why they are where they are. Number 5, SpongeBob SquarePants. Okay, let me start off by saying I was never a massive fan of the show, but the reason why it makes this list for me is because of one particular episode that I'll get to later. It's easily one of the biggest cartoons of all time since it began in 1999, winning countless awards across the current 12 seasons, as I'm writing this script. The characters were all pretty likeable in their own way. As you watch it as a child, you relate to SpongeBob's energy and playfulness, and sometimes Patrick's dumbness too. And then as you get older, you understand Squidward's ill-tempered attitude, along with Mr. Krabs' love for his daughter, and maybe even his love for money in some people's cases. The memes that came from the show are also very entertaining, with my favourite being the dead crowd with that one dude in the back shouting, "This guy sucks!" But the episode that puts it on this list is the Nasty Patty episode of season 3. The premise is SpongeBob accidentally kills a health inspector at the Krabby Patty, and he is constantly finding a way to hide the body. I remember crying of laughter through the whole scenario and cuts between him trying to not get caught. So fair play for the creators for that one. Number 4, the new Woody the Woodpecker show. This show was a spin-off / remake of the original Woody the Woodpecker in the 50s. It revolved around the title character Woody, who's an extremely mischievous character that does anything to get by without working hard or working at all. Like some people I know, I suppose. Even his trademark laugh is so iconic that I'd be able to recognise it anywhere, and I love the fact the latter part of it emulates the sound and emotion a real woodpecker actually makes when burrowing a hole into a tree. Sometimes it's the small details that count. He is voiced by the talented Billy West, who has proved his credentials in multiple works before and after this, and the legendary Mark Hamill, portraying yet another villain perfectly in Buzz Buzzard, a character that was always getting in Woody's way. The young boy in me liked the mischievous side of Woody, even if I didn't get why he just didn't put in the work on many occasions, as that seemed like the easier option. But hey, who's to say comedy has to make sense, especially to kids? Number 3, Tom and Jerry Kids. The classic cat and mouse type chase. You'd think it would get boring after a certain point, but no, not really. This was a spin-off of the original Tom and Jerry to make it more suitable for kids. I watched Dragon Ball Z as a 10-year-old, and I'm fine. Both characters look physically younger, with Tom being a kitten instead of a cat. There's something about seeing a rivalry as dedicated as these two that's entertaining for a kid. Through seeing them trying to outdo each other with pranks, chase after one another and fight. And to do all of this without saying a single word was what was so impressive. With nothing but animation and sound effects to work off to keep children entertained is something to be proud of. And this is something that has worked all the way from the original series in the 60s to the most recent show in the late 2010s. 50 plus years of legacy is nothing short to be scoffed at, and even the longest running animated series of all time in The Simpsons parodied the duo in their Itchy and Scratchy segment that was also a big hit with Bart and Lisa, the kids of that show, and also myself. Number 2, the Powerpuff Girls. This cartoon centres around three young girls who all have superpowers and fight crime in the city Townsville. A pretty basic premise, but one that worked extremely well. I remember watching it as it was airing, so I was between the ages of 4 and 11, and it was one of my favourite cartoons by far. It was great seeing the girls balance hard tasks of usual adult superheroes through fighting crimes and minimising destruction of the city to the mundane task of a child like being home before bedtime. The voice acting was also outstanding, with Kathy Cavadini showcasing her skills to portray Blossom as the proud, confident leader of the group. The legendary Tara Strong, her name will be coming up a lot in B&C projects, you better believe that, as the sweetest of the group in Bubbles, and the talented singer, comedian and actress E.G. Daly as the fiery Buttercup. Not realising it at the time, but looking back now, this show was a great way to promote feminism in all the right ways, and all extremely talented female cast portraying strong female characters. I can't even name shows in recent times that have accomplished this well. This is one of the many reasons why old school cartoons were so good to watch for both parents and children. Number 1, Arthur. So before the fist meme of him became insanely popular out of nowhere, Arthur was an extremely well put together educational show for children. I remember first watching it when I was around the age of 6 or 7 and in primary school, and I would say it was one, if not the best show to help kids understand and learn about certain topics in life. Revolving around the anthropomorphic aardvark and his family, there was episodes focused on disabilities, personality differences and trying friends' interests and others. It's the second longest running animated series in the US, just behind The Simpsons, which does surprise me as until recently, the fist meme, I didn't even know it was airing anymore because I've never seen it across the main channels in the UK. The children cartoons have really taken a dip in recent years, but that's a topic for another day. The show was also filled with very likeable characters like the protagonist Arthur himself and his best friend Buster, who did get a spin-off of his own but didn't really take off. And Alan too, which was Arthur's other friend, but definitely not Muffy. I hated her. It also served the forefront of some controversy for showing the same-sex marriage of Arthur's teacher in 2019. And in my opinion, they did nothing but show what real life entails, staying true to what the show has been from the very beginning. So that is my list of my top 5 90s cartoons. Obviously, I spent a lot of time watching these as a kid. A lot of time. So, and as I said, those last two really helped in, understanding. The last one in particular helped with building up kids and understanding the ways of life sometimes. So it's always a big thing when that happens in shows and stuff. And it's nice when it's entertaining at the same time. But that is now the end of the episode for the week. And I will see you again next week for another cartoon segment. Till then.